Hi, it's May 6th, 2019, and being harassed again, so I'm making more videotapes. Today, I'd like to talk about the symptoms of electronic harassment and the inconsistencies with mental illness. First, all of this information is on my blog at mindcontrolinformation.blogspot.com. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at mindcontrolinformation@gmail.com. But all of the blog information and the information on electronic harassment is under mindcontrolinformation.blogspot.com. First, I want to start with the symptoms and characteristics of electronic harassment, at least as it pertains to me. First off, they have control of your brain, so the symptoms are endless. Your brain controls everything in your body, so they can pretty much do whatever they want to your body. They do the typical things to make you miserable or control thought or action. They can give you that microwave auditory effect where you're hearing voices. They're looking for dramatic experience to start. There are always two voices that alternate about every 4 hours. You get a new person in and a new person out, old person out. There is an insistence with electronic harassment that you are being harassed by somebody and you're not mentally ill. That insistence that you're being harassed to the point where you tell your family, your friends, and your coworkers of the horrible things that are going on with you. They attempt to simulate bipolar disorder to start before moving into schizophrenia. Doctors initially had diagnosed my symptoms as bipolar because I was complaining mostly of voices. And as soon as they started to play with my body and do weird things with my body, that's when the doctor moved on from bipolar to schizophrenia. So I've been diagnosed with both. They're both incorrect. But I take medication anyways because I don't want to get myself caught in a position where I have to be locked up to be stabilized on medication. I take 4 psych meds just to be safe so I don't get locked up. I can't even feel them, to be honest with you. The good thing about taking them is they put me to sleep at night, and I get a better night's sleep, at least at the beginning of the night, as opposed to when they usually wake me up about 4, 5, or 6 in the morning, sometimes 2. They love to attack and hurt the head, the neck, and the stomach. Those are the areas that I would complain to the doctor about most. And it's extremely painful. I mean, they can do awful things to your neck. They can give you headaches, all different types of headaches. And then they make you sick, so you're not eating regularly, and your moods are swaying from left to right. There's a perceived or constructed gang stalking that's associated with electronic harassment. As people aren't familiar with the technology, they fall for some of the mimic voices of their neighbors next door. They will foster and promote conditions that lead to arguments with friends, family, neighbors, and coworkers. Those are the relationships they're looking to destroy. They want to put you in a frantic mood and have you appear frantic and unstable. They do a tremendous amount of short-term memory loss, and they give you this fear as if they're erasing some of the memories that you have. That's not true. They're just getting rid of your short-term memory loss. It's like putting up a cloud. You can't initially see out of it, but it eventually dissipates and your memories come back to you. They do a lot of appetite suppressant and weight loss. When I first started 18 years ago, I was 175 pounds. I went down to about 145, 150. With all the harassment, I lost about 30 pounds. Luckily, My father has been staying with me for the last year, so he's been able to witness what's been going on with me. Completely believes that I'm not mentally ill based off of my arguments. There's no explanation for the horrendous torture that I go through. But he's been around to be making food at meal times, so I've been able to eat more, and I've put actually all of my weight back on since all of this harassment has started. So I am actually healing and getting better in that sense. All right, now I would like to talk about some of the inconsistencies with mental illness. These are questions that I would ask somebody who's being harassed, and the answers are all consistent with electronic harassment and directed energy weapons and sonic weapons, but they're not necessarily all consistent with mental illness. Now, if you were to ask these questions of these people that have been driven crazy and done nasty things in society, their answers would all be consistent. So, I'm going to go through 11 questions. The questions you'll see, but I've got answers for electronic harassment, and they should all be consistent with what you are hearing and you're going through as far as electronic harassment is concerned. So, we've got a mental illness versus electronic harassment. Now, I am not a doctor. I am not giving out advice. I am just strictly saying that these are the symptoms of electronic harassment, and they are consistent across the board with the people who are complaining of the same thing. And if all of these answers are consistent, then there's something wrong with the way that doctors are treating electronic harassment, because they're not able to distinguish between electronic harassment and mental illness. So, this survey would be useful to incarcerated people, homeless people, hospitals, and isolated victims. And it can be used for anybody that's complaining of electronic or wireless harassment. Here we go. How many different voices do you hear at any given time? Mental illness varies from 1 to 5. Electronic harassment is always 2 voices at one time, not more than that. Where do the voices originate or sound like they are coming from? Can they be heard by other people? And where do the voices say they are coming from? The answer for electronic harassment should be from outside of your head, external stimulation. Number 3, did you ever have issues with any of your neighbors? Electronic harassment victims are also the victims of gang stalking, and they have trouble with all of their neighbors, so that answer should be yes. Did you ever feel as if somebody was stalking you? Well, it's a big theme with electronic harassment. Gang stalking, organized stalking, that answer should be yes. Does it feel as if someone is trying to voice or narrate your thoughts? Electronic harassment should be yes. They're not very good at it. It always comes often a second or two after the point has passed, and it's rather annoying. Are you often forced via pain, headache, nausea, etc., into either a flat or sitting position while you put pressure on your head to offset a swelling feeling? And do you feel as if someone is running through mental exercises with you in an effort to look for ways of controlling you or for weaknesses? That answer should be yes. They're looking for fears to manipulate you in the future. Do you feel sudden jolts of pain when it feels as if someone is frustrated over their efforts at manipulation have failed? It happens all the time. They try and do something, they're unsuccessful, and I get zapped and hit because of it. That answer should be yes for electronic harassment victims. Next question. Do you experience more pain in your head, neck, and stomach than you did previous to hearing voices? Or ever in your entire life? Electronic harassment victims should answer yes to that question. Again, they love to instigate pain in the head, neck, and stomach. It's how they're going to hold you hostage. Do you feel as if you are being coerced or forced into isolation from friends, family, and work? Electronic harassment victims are all isolated, and that answer should be yes as well. Number 10, do you have traumatic experiences with harassment during holidays, especially Thanksgiving and the winter holidays? That answer should be yes. They purposely try and destroy those holidays in an effort to try and be as nasty as they possibly can. It's not the stress of the family that is causing the traumatic experiences. It's the harassment to the point where you say, screw it, I'm not going, I'm going to stay here, I don't feel well, I'm sick, this, that, and the other, and they've won because they've isolated you. So that answer should be yes for electronic harassment victims. My last question here. Do you feel as if someone has control of every muscle and nerve in your body and they are mocking God by unraveling the normal and natural feelings other people take for granted every day? That answer for electronic harassment victims should be yes. They are trying to make you feel as if they are taking and stealing everything that you've ever earned or worked for away from you. In an effort to strip you and try and control you and try and be nasty as well. So there is a set of questions that you can use to see what some of the inconsistencies with mental illness and the consistencies with electronic harassment are. I spent a lot of my time trying not to get cornered excuse me, by them, meaning that we played the mental illness game. I'd go see the doctor, I would complain of things that weren't consistent with mental illness. She would go, go see a physical doctor, and then I would be sent back and forth from a physical doctor to a psychiatrist. So I try and be as honest as possible with the doctor, but I make sure to highlight the inconsistent parts of the mental illness. So even she or he is thinking, maybe this isn't a mental illness. I know that they're hearing voices, so by law all the books tell me that I have to prescribe medication, but maybe he's not actually mentally ill. And there's some sort of explanation for it. Either way, the doctor's going to prescribe the drugs. Take the drugs. They make you sleep at night. It makes it a little bit easier. I've never noticed any effects to any other drugs other than having an upset stomach because I took them without having food. So what I try and do is not get stuck in a position where people tell me that I'm mentally ill. Which means that I do everything to address those issues, and I really discuss I write down the things that aren't consistent with mental illness, and then I go discuss those with the psychiatrist, and let her or he tell me why that's happening. And they never have an answer, but they can't say that I'm horribly mentally ill because I'm writing things down that aren't consistent with mental illness. So anyways, thanks for listening. This is a great test to give people to see if they are being harassed by electronic harassment. The symptoms are similar to mental illness, but there's a slight variation. And if you ask somebody who is being harassed those 11 questions and their answers are all consistent with electronic harassment like we just described, there's a good chance that they may not be mentally ill and they should consider alternatives. So I hope the day gets better, and I really hope all this stuff ends soon because I'm really tired of it. I have stuff that I need to do today, and I'm already upset and making videotapes. So hopefully I'm able to get some of my stuff done and not documenting this stupid stuff and wasting any more time. So good luck. Talk soon.